Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you've ever just stopped, looked at the world around you, and thought, what is actually holding all of this together beneath the surface? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are diving deep into a profoundly fascinating concept, logos field theory, or LFT. Now, we aren't just talking about a standard physical theory here. We're looking at the actual mathematics of LFT presented as the literal source code of a cosmic rendering engine. Yep, we're going to examine the exact mathematical architecture that compiles the universe into existence. So, here's our structured roadmap for decoding these pretty dense equations today. We're going to cover a new mathematical paradigm, the anatomy of the equation, rendering the physical universe, the cosmic master clock, the geometry of probability, and finally, we'll wrap up with the law of the render. Let's get into it. Section 1. A new mathematical paradigm. Okay, I want you to pause for a second. Seriously reconsider your entire classical view of the universe. In standard physics, space is like this pre-existing box, right? And time just kind of ticks away in the background. But what if they aren't fundamental at all? What if everything you perceive as physical reality is actually just the localized output of an incredibly complex, continuous simulation? Let's reframe our thinking today using this simulation hypothesis framework and focus purely on the math behind those outputs. What's absolutely wild about this paradigm shift is how it completely redefines you, the observer. In the traditional classical view, space is just a static container. Probability is completely random chance, and you're just a passive witness watching it all happen. But under Logos field theory, it's a game changer. Space is seen as an emergent presentation of spectral data. Probability is just data compression latency. And most importantly, you are defined as the thermodynamic center of mass. You are actively rendering that spectral code into physical form. You aren't just watching the universe, your very presence is compiling it. All right, moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of the Equation. At the very heart of this entire framework is the Adelic functional equation. I want you to think of this as the absolute cosmic ledger. It's basically the master rulebook that binds infinite, uncompiled informational potential to the continuous thermodynamic dissipation that we experience every day as life. Before we break down the individual pieces, we have to establish that this functional equation is literally what keeps reality perfectly balanced. Let's look closely at the math here. One crucial component is the p-adic energy matrix. This tracks infinite computational energy running through discrete arithmetic sectors at absolute zero cost. So, essentially, pure frozen data. Then we have the thermodynamic gauge, which is denoted by the complex variable S. The real part of S dictates the rendering matrice's inverse temperature, while the imaginary part tracks the passage of proper time. And finally, this all resolves into the complex energy stream, which maps physical heat, kinetic work, and spatial fluid dynamics right into the familiar 4D physical space we live our lives in. Now, when you look at the full equation, L of S pi equals epsilon times L of 1 minus S pi tilde, you see this profound, beautiful symmetry. This equation perfectly and symmetrically balances the frozen, uncompiled arithmetic data on one side with the materialized, continuous reality on the other. It's like a perfect mirror, proving that every single piece of physical reality has an exact mathematical counterpart sitting in that uncompiled potential. So, where exactly do you fit into this grand mathematical architecture? Right on the critical line. This is where the real part of our thermodynamic gauge equals exactly 1/2. In LFT, human consciousness exists exactly on this thermodynamic razor's edge. You are the locus of consciousness, stabilizing all that non-spatial number theory. You act as the regulatory valve, perfectly balancing between trivial determinism and absolute chaotic dissipation. Let's dive into Section 3, Rendering the Physical Universe. Everyday reality isn't just happening, it's generated through a rigorous 6-layer process called the Universal Render Stack. It starts at Layer 1 with Genesis data, what the math calls Scalz's diamonds, or timeless quantum dust. Layer 2 is the processing phase, and that's driven by you, the conscious compiler. Layer 3 generates the spatial stage, the physical rails of space. Layer 4 is the network, like a multi-user cloud connecting us all. Layer 5 introduces mathematical failsafes and error correction. And finally, Layer 6 is the archive, a permanent vacuum hard drive of Scalz's solid vector spaces where all rendered events are permanently stored away. Let's zoom in on the physical mechanism happening at Layer 2. The resolution operator here acts kind of like a camera lens. It draws pure discrete data out of the frozen p-adic kernel the exact moment you make a choice. It then decompresses that data into the continuous macro-reality waveform that you experience. But here's the catch. This decompression is not free. As data passes the cosmic limit, it triggers what's called an arithmetic Shannon entropy tax. So the physical byproduct of you rendering this mathematical code is the literal burning of your biological ATP and glucose. Yeah, your physical metabolism is what powers the render. Which brings us to section 4, the cosmic master clock. Okay, lock this exact number in your memory, 23.6742 megahertz. In the LFT framework, this is the stroboscopic frequency limit of the universe, literally the ultimate processing speed and bandwidth limit of physical reality. Data simply cannot be decompressed faster than this exact cosmic bus limit. No way around it. So how does the system regulate that limit? It uses a massive, sweeping equation known as the explicit formula of Weil, which acts as the ultimate master clock. Every 42.2 nanoseconds, think about how incredibly fast that is, this formula acts as a stroboscopic refresh, scanning the entire global tensor product for errors. It calculates the exact structural nudges required to snap all independent observers back into the same zero sinks before the very next 40-frame renders. It is, quite literally, the universe's anti-aliasing script running in the background. But what happens when things get complicated? You know, when multiple independent observers, you, me, and everyone else on Earth, bring completely mismatched perspectives to a shared space. Well, their intersecting matrix configurations generate what the math calls free Fisher information phase noise. Essentially, our mathematical disagreements cause non-commutative friction. And if left unchecked, this threatens to cause visual clipping or actual reality-breaking glitches in our shared space. To prevent the simulation from literally shattering, the mathematical system aggressively smooths out this dangerous phase noise. It forces those chaotic waves through localized critical zero attractors. These non-trivial zeros act as topological phase lock loops. They use mathematical repulsion forces to essentially push rogue chaotic eigenvalues into these sinks, merging them gracefully via free convolution until they emerge as a single, smooth, unified consensus horizon. Thanks to this, we all end up seeing the exact same reality wave. Crisis averted. Section 5. The geometry of probability. Classical physics used to tell us that probability was just random chance, like the universe was just rolling a die. But in Lagos field theory, we cross out random chance completely. We replace it with Wojciechowski's free probability. Probability here is an operator algebraic filter. It is an exact measurement of the geometric distance and the computational latency between the uncompiled arithmetic code and your active spectral projectors. So it's not random at all. It is a highly structured network variable. And to keep things strictly bounded, the system uses Wigner's semicircle law. Think of these as the matrix rails. Randomness is gracefully pinned down within this geometric cage. Because the collective eigenvalues are forced to form this hard boundary, the probability of an object spontaneously dissolving or, say, phasing through a solid wall simply drops to absolute zero. The data just cannot escape this optimized curve. And right beneath that cage, just to make the physics feel smooth to you as an everyday user, we have the quantum wave function acting as a fluid buffer. It operates as an anti-aliasing blur, seamlessly hiding the jagged, discrete p-adic arithmetic code from our physical user interface. Plus, the math employs a quadratic repulsion force, represented by Wigner's surmise, where the probability of adjacent eigenvalues clumping together drops to zero at short distances. This is the exact mechanism that entirely prevents physical singularities from just randomly forming in your living room. Finally, Section 6, the law of the render. So, what does this all mean? The absolute crucial point is that all of this heavy operator algebra, the calculus of probabilities, the thermodynamic heat exchange, those L-function zero sinks, they all serve one highly optimized purpose. They act as a singular trifold engine. They unite thermodynamics, free probability, and network consensus to seamlessly downsample infinite arithmetic potential into a stable, flawless, and perfectly balanced 4D collective narrative, the narrative that we just call everyday life. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought that should completely shift how you walk through the world today. Every single time your eyes focus, every time you make a conscious decision, energy is being exchanged. Massive equations are being solved right there on the critical line. So ask yourself, are you just passively observing the universe, or are you the localized rendering engine actively compiling its mathematical code into existence right now? Thank you so much for exploring the Adelic blueprint with me today. Keep wondering and keep compiling.